Hi, everyone. I wanted to post another kind of devotion for you guys, and I wanted to talk specifically about kindness today and what I think kindness means, and what's the opposite of kindness. And I think that uh, a lot of times if we said, okay, what does kindness mean to you? And then what is the opposite of kindness? We would say, okay, well, it's not being kind, being unkind, being mean, or something like that. Um, and I actually want to take that a little bit further because I want to talk about something that I think a whole lot of us, if you're anything like me, can struggle with sometimes. I think that the opposite of kindness is actually cynicism. And the reason that I say that is because if we we have to look at the motivation behind being kind to someone and being cynical. And there's so much kind of like a biblical framework for that and why we shouldn't be cynical. So real quick, I want to take just a second and go over a couple of definitions of cynicism or being cynical. It says to believe that people are motivated by self-interest, distrustful or human sincerity or integrity. And the second definition is doubtful as to whether something will happen or whether it is worthwhile. I think it's hard for us to grasp the kindness of God because if you're anything like me, we often question motives. That's a big problem that I have that, if I'm just being vulnerable for a second, that's something that I struggle with. I struggle with trusting people's motives, especially if I don't know them that well. All of us have had tough experiences in life, so it can be difficult sometimes for us to show kindness to other people, especially when we don't believe that it's been shown to us. I think that's one of the hardest, if we're being honest, that's one of the hardest commands, commands that we have from Scripture is loving everyone, including our enemies. Now, obviously, we have family, we have good friends who are kind to us, and sometimes even those people let us down, and we see a darker side of life that can point us in another direction. So, as a direct result, we might react quickly out of anger or frustration or cynicism, and when we find ourselves in those situations. So, in just kind of talking about kindness, which is the opposite of that, because it is motivated out of giving, not caring what the recipient of that kindness has done to you, or if they've wronged you, or it's not about questioning motives or anything like that. It comes from a loving place in your own heart because of what God has done for you. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about that, and I want to read a few different verses, and I'm going to kind of blitz through these. So I'd encourage you just to kind of, if you want to reference these as I give you the reference at first, and then go back and read them. But I'm reading from the ESV translation. But Psalm 36:7 says, "How precious is your loving kindness, O God, and the children of men take refuge in the shadow of your wings." Psalm 117:2 says, "For his loving kindness is great toward us, and the truth of the Lord is everlasting." Proverbs 11:25 says, "The generous person will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered." Proverbs 19:22 says, "What is desirable in a person is kindness, and it is better to be poor than a liar." Luke 6:36-38 says, "Be merciful just as your Father is merciful, and do not judge, and you will not be judged, and don't condemn, and you won't be condemned. Pardon, and you'll be pardoned." Philippians 2:3, "Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, let each of you regard one another as more important than himself." And finally, from 1 John 3, verse 19, "We love because he first loved us." Now, I believe that the principle at the heart of Christian faith is where kindness begins, and that's humility. That's humbling yourself and not considering yourself greater than anyone else. Because when you're humbled and you begin to pray for God to help you see everyone as he sees us, it changes your life. It changes your motivations for how you look at people. You don't look at people based on status or what they've done for you. You don't look at all these other outside things about that person that you begin to wrap up in their identity. It doesn't matter about those things. You simply give and you're kind because God has first been kind to you. God has first loved you. That should be our primary motivation. And when we begin to understand that we're the same, and we have no reason to lift ourselves on a pedestal above other people, specifically in the eyes of God, we'll begin to live as Christ desires us to live, as the church should live. And so kindness will just come as a byproduct. It will become part of who we are. It will get wrapped up in our identity. We won't be someone who looks at other people and we decide to kind of dole out love and service to those who we deem worthy of that. Because if we're all being honest, we've all been given love, and we've all been given blessings, and we've all been given forgiveness and mercy from God, and none of us were worthy of that. None of us deserved it. But he gave it to us simply because he loves us. And that's the type of people that we need to be. That's certainly who I want to be. So I hope that's an encouragement to you today, and I hope that, if anything, it would be a challenge for us to really look to Scripture and to look to the person of God, who God is, and that would motivate us to live a life showing kindness to everyone around us, no matter what. That said, I would love to share another song with you, and this is one that we have done a few times, but it's simply Great Are You, Lord. So I'd encourage you, sing along with me. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the bless everyone.